Hi guys, welcome back to a new episode of the PS2 Collector. So on this episode I decided to do something different. So what I'm going to do on this episode is show you my latest PS5 collection, from my worst games to my favorite games. I'm going to make this a 5-episode series because I've got a quite big collection. Stay tuned, you do not want to miss this. Just before I begin the video, I'm going to disclaim that there are going to be no spoilers. I'm going to choose a game in my collection and I'm going to give a brief description for each game. So starting off with my first game in my collection is part of one of my favorite video game series of all time, and that is the Ratchet and Clank series. And for the PS5, I got this game at launch, so it came with the PS5, and what a way to start off my PS5 journey with this game, and that is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. When I first saw trailers for this game and I saw Ratchet falling and these rifts opening and Ratchet entering the different dimensions, I was literally blown away, and that in itself sold the game to me, because I've been a fan of the series for 20 plus years. Is it better than the original Ratchet and Clank on the PS2, the first 3 games? It is not, because them games, the replayability that they had to offer was another level. But for this game, for the PS5 on the other hand, when I first played it, when I first saw the cinematics and the game's visual presentation, which was really good, it's like you're playing a Pixar movie. I got literally like my attention into the game when I was first watching the cutscenes, and when the cutscenes stopped, I'm thinking, is it finished or do I start playing? It's come to a point where we are literally playing a Pixar movie. That's how far that the PS5 hardware has gone. The game's story on the other hand is really good. It's got a new depth to it, where you see the alternate universe version of Ratchet and Clank, which are Rivet and Kit. And I want to see where Insomniac goes for the future of this series. Do they go with a new direction by creating a new Rivet and Kit game and show the alternate dimension version of Ratchet and Clank, which would be a really great game in my opinion? Or should they carry on the Ratchet and Clank story? Leave it in the comments below. What do you guys want to see? And that is my first game, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Amazing game. And the next game in my collection is RoboCop Rogue City. Just before you play the game, you're gonna have to watch the first 2 movies, because the game's storyline takes place between RoboCop 2 and 3. So if you are gonna watch the stories in order, watch the first 2 movies. Do not watch 3, because this game is a prequel to RoboCop 3, and you'll understand RoboCop 3 in depth after playing this game. So for me, the first movie was an absolute masterpiece, one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time, one of my favorites of all time. RoboCop 2 was decent, but it never captured the magic as the first movie. But what about the game? For me, the game's developers got the RoboCop 1980s style bang on. When you play the game, it's like you're actually playing the movie, and it is really good. It's very gory. Keep that in mind, it is very gory since it is a first person shooter. The negative aspects is the game is a bit one-dimensional. You do have variation of weapons, but you are mostly using your normal shotgun of a gun, if that makes sense. The Ed 209 missions are really tough as well. And another negative thing that I found about this game when I first got it before the patch, it was really buggy, because sometimes in certain cutscenes you see characters' faces being disfigured, and sometimes you see them floating in the air for no apparent reason. But other than that, for me, the graphic wise, I don't mind as long as the gameplay is fun. That's how I see my games. That's how I have fun with my games. But considering the fact that it had a short time frame between the storylines, they had to fit a story in there, and unfortunately the pacing of the story was a bit rushed in my opinion. But if you do enjoy the game, leave it in the comments below. For me, it's 50-50, because the visuals are good, but the gameplay, it seems rushed. And that, my friends, is game number 2, RoboCop Rogue City. Decent game, but not great. The Next game in my collection is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time, and easily my favorite RPG on the PS5, and that is 2021 Game of the Year, in my opinion, Tales of Arise. So without spoiling anything, I'm gonna keep it brief. So you wake up in a slave camp with a helmet stuck to your head, and you're a character called Alphen, and throughout the game you must discover who you really are and what character you are. And throughout the game you meet interesting characters that add a huge depth to the storyline. The pacing of the story is really great until you get to the end, and for me, I did not enjoy the ending, but some people did. If you did, leave it in the comments below because I want to know why. But yeah, as an RPG, it absolutely delivers and then some. And for me, if you want to try this game, please give it a go. You won't be disappointed. Really great game. On to the next. The next game, I'm gonna say something controversial here. I think this is one of the worst Final Fantasy games ever made. I do understand that there is a fan base for this game, but for me, I tried to enjoy this game. Trust me, I tried to enjoy this game, but I couldn't get into it. And that is Square Enix's Final Fantasy 16. When I first saw trailers, I was like, whoa, this game looks amazing. But when I first started playing it, I'm thinking, whoa, this game's not great whatsoever. The characters are absolutely bland and they have no life to them, and you can't engage with the storyline, in my opinion. The side quests are boring, generic. The storyline's very generic. The enemies look generic as well. It's like this game is absolutely average, and what made me hate this game so much was the length of cutscene in the story. It's like you're watching a 5-minute cutscene every 20 minutes after you play a game. The pacing is absolutely off with this game. And for me, if you did enjoy this game, leave it in the comments below because I want to know why you enjoyed this game, because I clearly did not. For me, it's up there with one of the worst Final Fantasy games. For me, I thought Final Fantasy 13 was the worst, but this is up there with it. But which one's worse? I still say it's 13 because 13 had a lot of hype. But for this, I give Square Enix a slap on the wrist because I knew they were working on Final Fantasy 7 Remake, so I let them off there. But for me, if you do enjoy the Final Fantasy series, this game might disappoint you. For me, as a game, it's decent but not good enough with the hype that was delivered. Disappointed with this game, absolutely disappointed. The next game is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, when it comes to Spider-Man games, especially Insomniac ones, they've nailed what a Spider-Man game should look like, because for years they were absolutely clunky Spider-Man games. They never ever got the web spinning mechanics right until Insomniac took over the Marvel franchise and took it to the next level. For me, all the Spider-Man games are spot on with the storyline, but with this one, the storyline is quite short, so you can complete the game within a weekend. The replayability is there because there are side quests such as being enemies, collecting all the collectibles, as well as stashes. So there's loads of fun to be had with this game despite it being short. For me, this game is mainly based on kids, so if you do have children, this game is perfect for them. For me, it's a really great game, but tragically short, and that is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Brilliant Spider-Man game. The next game is a spiritual successor to the Jet Set Radio, or where it's set in North America, Jet Grind Radio franchise, and that is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. So let's start off with the Jet Set Radio's history. So Jet Set Radio came out on the Dreamcast back in 2000 and it's one of my favorite games I've ever played when I was a kid. And it then progressed onto the Xbox, and after that it's been dormant for nearly 20 years, which is a huge disappointment. But we got a spiritual successor with Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This game pays homage down to a T. For me, I think it's a carbon copy of the Jet Set Radio series. The only disappointing thing is it didn't add to its own element. It just stuck with Jet Set Radio. So I can easily say that this game is Jet Set Radio 3, but under a different banner because Sega owns the IP. But yeah, the developers could do something different, but again, I'm not complaining. I got a Jet Set Radio inspired game. So in the game, you have to do skills, spray on the wall, do graffiti, just to gain points and dominate each area. One thing that did catch me up by surprise though, it has a very dark story. For a cel-shaded graphics game, which looks innocent and fun, it has a very dark tone to it, which I'm all for. You have to conquer each area and become Old City. That's the goal of the game. You have to go Old City and discover who you are and get back something that you previously owned. And I'm gonna keep it at that because I do not want to spoil the story. But yeah, if you do enjoy Jet Set Radio, you gotta play this. It's a phenomenal game that pays homage to a great franchise. The future of the series is in doubt because Sega's gonna remaster Jet Set Radio in 2026, and again, this game's not gonna compete with Jet Set Radio, and this might be the only Bomb Rush Cyberpunk game that we'll get. I think that's a tremendous shame, but I'm all for Jet Set Radio in 2026. Brilliant game. The next game is one of my favorite games of all time and easily the best PS4 game of all time. I know there's Red Dead 2 fans, but for me, Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut on the PS5. Sometimes when you look at games, they're phenomenal, but some games are a form of art. This is the game. This game is absolutely beautiful and phenomenal. This game's a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. The way it embraces Japanese culture, the open world, the way this game's designed, like little details like if you're lost, the wind will guide you towards the right direction. Little aspects like that, the realism, the storyline, everything is perfection. If you get the director's cut, you get the Iki Island DLC, which is a huge bonus, but the PS4 version is good. This game pushed the PS4 to its limit, but on the PS5 is where the best experience you can get with this game. I do enjoy the side quests where you fight the legendary samurais. The story is a bit controversial but was part of Japanese culture, and if you do enjoy Japanese inspired open world games, nothing is more better for me personally than Ghost of Tsushima. I am absolutely cannot wait for the Ghost of Yoti. I'm getting that day one and I'm going to review it on this channel. For me, a phenomenal game, a masterpiece, one of the all-time greats, and this game will go down as an all-time great. That is for sure. Brilliant game, one of my favorites of all time. The next game in my collection is part of one of my favorite fighting game franchises of all time, and that is Tekken 8 for the PS5. So as you can see, I got this game day one, so I got the launch edition here. So what I got with it was a sleeve, a couple of stickers, and the gameplay. So look at that, isn't that amazing? So I have got a video on my channel where I did an unboxing of this game, and it got quite decent reviews from it. But yeah, so this game for me is 50-50. I'm not knocking the game, but the gameplay is amazing. The new innovation where they added a heat map to it and rage mode, but it's the lack of single player mode option that for me I find quite disappointing. There's no team battle. Arcade quest is quite boring compared to Street Fighter 6 with their single player mode. Compared to Tekken, Street Fighter is a way ahead with single player mode playthrough. Tekken 8 tried to focus on the online format because that's what sells nowadays, because the online community in Tekken is up there with the best in the world. There's so many players for this game and it's online is what sells. I'm not a huge fan of Reina. and the reintroduction of Heihachi has absolutely chucked what Tekken 7 did in the bin. So Tekken 7 became irrelevant when Heihachi came back to life again. And yeah, it's just like the story doesn't make sense. There's no continuation, there's no fresh flow. They keep reintroducing new characters that are irrelevant and bringing back characters once they are dead. It's just that they're confusing themselves as well as the audience. Who are we meant to be rooting for? Who is the bad guy? Like, there's no sense in the story. And another thing is the story mode for this game is absolutely short again compared to Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6, you got at least a 40-hour story, but with Tekken 8 you can complete the story within a day. And the platinum for this game is not that long, so there's no replayability there, because once I got the platinum and I played a few matches online, there's no more replayability. I hoped they added Tekken Force into it, but there's no Tekken Force. It's just in the story mode there is a Tekken Force of some sort, but like a 2-minute gameplay, and they could have put that as a separate game mode. But yeah, but besides that, single player mode is poor. Online community is really, really successful. But yeah, for me it's a good game, but could have been better. That's my opinion. If you disagree with that, leave it in the comments below. The next game in my collection is officially the mascot of PlayStation, and that is Astrobot. So let's go back to 2020 when the PS5 came out. It had a demo called Astrobot, and it was showing off what the PS5 can do. But that demo was so good, the gameplay was so fresh, and it was exactly what we needed at the time. And I was amazed. I'm thinking, how is this not its own franchise? Because the nostalgia factor, the way it sells nostalgia, and the fun gameplay, I was amazed at that time that this is not its own franchise. But forward 4 years later, Team Asobi created Astrobot. So the best way to describe this game, it is the Mario equivalent on the PlayStation. If you enjoy Mario, you would love Astrobot. With its simple gameplay and fun challenges and puzzles for each levels, it is an absolute amazing game. For me, 2024 game of the year. I'm not going to spoil the story, but if you not play this game, give it a go. If you do enjoy old classic platform games, it gets nothing better than Astrobot for the PS5. Phenomenal game and a breath of fresh air for the PS5. There should be more games like this, but unfortunately they are a dying breed. I'm so glad that this game got released. So a huge kudos to Team Asobi and their creation. Phenomenal game. The final game of this video is one of the most controversial games ever released. For me, it is Sony's biggest failure and one of the biggest failures and flops in the history of video games, and that is Concord on the PS5. So I've got this sealed. So this game for me was that it promised a lot but delivered absolutely nothing, because they were comparing this game to Overwatch, and with games like Overwatch they are free, but this you have to pay £40. So if you think about it, why would I want to pay £40 full retail price where I can play a better, a more established franchise like Overwatch? It did not make sense. So Sony bottled the release, and there was no promotion whatsoever for this game. And Sony invested $400 million for this game, so 8 years in development. So I was expecting this game to get, you know, a huge reputation, but it got a reputation for the wrong source, because after it was released in August, the game was shut down and basically cancelled after 2 weeks. So the physical copy never hit retail. So that means the only way you must have obtained this game was either pre-order or you paid over the odds just to preserve this game. And after 2 weeks, after the lack of players online and lack of interest, they cancelled it for the greater good. And for me now, the only reason why I did not return this game and get a refund, because I want to preserve PlayStation history. So what I'm holding here now is PlayStation history, and I don't care about the money and value. I'm just keeping it just to preserve it. This game in the future may go for over the odds. You may have to pay over the odds to obtain this game in the future. For me, as a game, there's nothing on the disc. You can't play anything on it. But if you're collectors like me and you want to preserve games, you must put this in your PS5 collection. And that, my friends, is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. If you want to know when my videos come online, click on the bell notification below. Anyways guys, until next time, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care guys.